Hi everybody, my name is Kim Del Valle Walker, and I was going to make a video this week that was more educational in nature, but I thought it was kind of important to let you know my journey because yours might be kind of similar. I grew up Catholic. I was baptized. I went to Holy Communion. However, I did not decide to become confirmed because I was one of those kids that had the questions like, wait a minute, if Adam and Eve were the first people that God put on earth, how could their sons go find wives if there weren't any other people there? And then, I don't know, things just got weird. And then I asked questions like, well, if Jesus is the most important person in our belief, in our faith as Christians, wouldn't we want to know where the heck he was from the time he flipped over the tables in the temple till the time he came back before his crucifixion? Anyway, needless to say, I asked too many questions in confirmation class and was kicked out. But I did go to Catholic high school as well. And, that was a whole different thing. But when I was 10 years old, even growing up Catholic, my godmother actually got me my first deck of tarot cards. And I guess I had always had spiritual experiences, saw things, felt things, heard things. And even when I was a little girl, those of you that have read my book, Help Over Handcuffs, where I mentioned my Aunt Elsie, I found out later on as an adult after she passed away that she used to have seances at her house and invite people over. But when I was a little kid and I would go over there, you know how kids play war? Well, she didn't play war with me. She played red card, black card. So she would hold the deck looking at them, and then I was to tell her if it was a red card or a black card. And as I got older, sometimes I would say, oh, it's a 4 of clubs. And every once in a while, like, I would get it right, you know. When my kids were growing up, I did something similar with them. But even though we were Catholic and believed in God and monotheism, as far as like there's just one God, we did all these things that were kind of on the side, were kind of hush hush. And I don't know if that's been your experience as well. I know doing readings professionally, I've had some people come in from places and different beliefs where it's like they want to make sure nobody saw them coming in to get a reading from me, that are kind of discovering their own things. Like I just posted recently too about the Family News Network, a magazine that I had put together accidentally, quite frankly. I was going to have 50 of these copies of these things to do that were free and affordable for families. And the printer accidentally printed up 500. And if you look like you had a kid, I was shoving one in your hand. And then it took off. Like in 3 years, I had a distribution of 9,000 a month. Yeah, so it was like one of those things. Anyway, one of the things that I had in that magazine there were churches and things that advertised in there and pediatricians. But one of the things I had was a yoga and a meditation class. And one of the churches pulled their advertising out of there because they were against yoga as the Eastern philosophy. They were against meditation because it was like summoning the devil or something. I'm not sure, but there are other people around that I see now that are having the same issue. Like they grew up having these questions like, yeah, what did Cain and Abel do? How did they find wives? And yeah, where was Jesus? And they see, like myself included, a lot of hypocrisy. Like you'll go to church on Sunday and behave one way, and then you leave church and it's totally different. Or you have questions about things, or you believe in alternative healings and alternative therapies. I remember when my mom was diagnosed with cancer in 1989, that's when I found out about Louise Hay. And she had this little blue booklet that talked about, like, if this is what you have, this might be the underlying issue. And I ordered some cassettes for my mom to listen to. You know, it was her time to go. And she ended up dying a year later after her diagnosis anyway. But I've always kind of been on this journey or this spiritual quest and allowing whatever organically comes into my life to decide whether or not that feels right. And I know there's a lot of you out there, because I've seen some of you and we've talked about this, about your feelings of guilt or like you're doing something wrong or that kind of thing. And recently I went to the bookstore and, I was just thinking to myself, I got this chakra flag in the background in this room, and I've got a statue of the Virgin Mary over there with sweetgrass braided around her with flowers that are like Hispanic, and it's kind of like, it's okay to be eclectic. It's okay to believe in God. It's okay to think about saints. It's okay to be monotheistic and believe in one God. And, like I grew up, we would call upon the saints for certain things, like Christopher for lost things, or Archangel Michael to help guide us and protect us. And when I found out more about Wicca and paganism, I realized that, they're calling in deities such as Isis or Hecate or different things like that. And it's no different. So recently, I went to a bookstore, which I haven't been in a long time. I needed to get out of the house, and it was sunny outside, and it was afternoon. I don't drive in the dark. And I found this book, The Path of the Christian Witch. And I picked it up, and I couldn't put it down. I read it in 24 hours, and I started to go back and highlight some of the things because I thought, oh my gosh, I so could have written this book. When I was assigned at, my first internship was at a Native American reservation, and it was like so much of their belief systems seemed aligned with mine. So I've incorporated some of that. I still go to the chapel at the church nearby, or at the hospital nearby, and I'm kind of disappointed that they took the candles out of there. Because I liked going into the chapel when it was quiet and saying prayers and lighting candles for people. And then recently somebody asked about, what is your spiritual practice? And I kind of feel like my life is a spiritual practice. Like from this book, like I have one of those things that I can't think of what you call it, but I keep holy water in it, and we'll still do like to the Father, the Son, and Holy Ghost, right? But I really like the Marys, not just Mary, Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, Jesus' mother who gave birth to him, but also Mary Magdalene. I feel like a strong pull towards her, always have for some reason. And so in this book, one of the things that she does is name the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. And I've kind of adopted that into my own practice every day. And I also do Reiki. And I have read a bunch of Edgar Cayce books. And I guess the whole point of this video that I wanted to share with you today is it's okay to be inquisitive. It's okay if you don't consider yourself pagan or Wiccan, or you consider yourself a Christian, but there's some things that just don't align for you and you're curious about them. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to send me a private message if you don't feel comfortable putting it out there in the comments. And I'm more than willing to help you however I can. I also am really into the science piece of it, like energy. Like a lot of people want to come see me in person for readings. And energy is energy. And just like a cell phone or your channel changer or other things that you cannot see that are going through the air energetically, it's the same thing with having a reading like over the phone and not in person or via Zoom. So there's that. So I'm going to leave it at that because we're already at 9 minutes and nobody likes to listen to somebody blab for more than 10 minutes. So anyway, send me a message. This is that book again, The Path of the Christian Witch. And yes, I'll see you again soon. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye. Mwah.